Sure. It has excellent connection, but I don't get the little preview. It says it's just connecting still, which is weird. Is that a bug? There we go. It's live. Weird. I had to reset my stream key, but we got it working. That's good. Let's hop into code, and I'll flip the screen over. All right. Code game. There. And basically, I have a ton of progress from the last time I was streaming. Essentially, I've upgraded everything to C++ 23, which is huge. What else have I done? I started getting Toolkit to compile, which is always a good update. So we have server, snowball, client, and then I had my RH over, and then I've shared, which arguably shared I can just close. I don't have toolbox currently on my page list. Let me fix that real quick. So we're going to connect to G16. And then we're going to open up a folder, which is going to be source RH toolkit. What this will do is ask me to reopen in the container. Oh, another thing I did is I made a new Docker repository. And that Docker repository has a image that it's under Rune Harvest. It's called VS Code Dev. It's a pretty big image, but what's nice is once you download it, that's the only image you need for every environment. So you can set up multiple environments, just the environment you care about. And down the line, you know, I'll deviate that and make production images that are streamlined without all the flags. But for the interim, so when we configure with CMake on Toolkit, it works. And when you build, it gets pretty far. As you can see here, there's actually a lot of binaries already building. It pretty much gets all the way to 3D. And then it starts to struggle a bit after that. So it's moving along. So here's a debate on what I want to do next. Like I have a window called Sonic the Hedgehog just chilling here. So to do next, I might go ahead and spin up a Rune Harvest project. I like the Kanban style. And we're just going to call this Rune Harvest. I don't know. It's Rune Harvest. Okay. We want a new column. We're going to call it backlog. Something like this. This lets you create like quick cards, which are definitely useful for me for management. So C++ 23 full support. We're going to create a draft. And this is just the first item. And what I can just do is be like, I don't know if it does the markdown checklist with drafts, but looks like it does, but they don't appear on here. So that's fine. Cool. Next, we need to add some nice to-dos later. That's going to be like BGFX Driver Support. That's a big one. That would technically be for client. It has 16,000 stars. KLS actually mentioned it recently and said it worked pretty good on his experience. And what it is a kind of all-in-one backend renderer. It also supports mobile and some other interesting target points. We're now using C-Lang or GCC 13. And a lot of engines use it. It's actually surprising when you look at the, the listing. I believe Guild Wars 2 uses it. And there was another pretty big one that does. So if I add this into it, we can potentially support more modern OpenGL, including Vulcan, DirectX, and Metal, which is huge. Plus, we could potentially add WebGL support, which I know Tempo would go nuts about. So that's something I want to put in the light. Soul 2 support, or actually this would be just I might work on this offline after, but it shouldn't be a massive undertaking, I don't think. It depends on how crazy they get with the Lua binds. From a glance, it didn't look like it was going to be too hard. I might even be able to feed it into like Gemini and have it just guesstimate most of it, and then I can go in and fine tune it from there. So that would be awesome though, because Saul 2 is a header only Lua binding system, where LuaBind, it's deprecated, it's no longer supported, and it's just kind of a pain to maintain support with. So on my chopping block. All right, let's see what Toolkit looks like. So as you can see here, I have 1,055 out of 1,064 project targets compiling. That's pretty dang good. Most of the errors are interesting. I'm not sure if Quick Fix will address this or not. Let's see. It could be that simple for that one. Let's see. Usually it'll, yeah, see, I only have 10 objects left on Toolkit. I was really close to finishing it. In fact, I think I just did. Oh, well, that was hard, getting Toolkit to work. One of the biggest issues with Toolkit is there's just so many projects in it. I honestly am a little intimidated by it. One thing we're going to need to do is add in the origin targeting. I think it's like set target, or actually it'd be like origin. Yeah, this stuff. We take this and we add it to each of the CMake files, which means do something like text and maybe just look for install. a lot of these have targets. And every time this happens, what we need to do is do that. And what that does is it lets, at least in Linux, you won't have to put the libs in the same directory. It has a lookup system where if it doesn't see the lib file installed, it'll check if it's in a subdirectory, which is what I'll probably do for deployment, just so you know it's easier organized, or it'll go up one directory. It's technically a security concern, but because this isn't for clients, these are going to be on dev boxes. I don't think that's a huge concern. Plus, it keeps it portable and easy to pack in a zip file. So what that means is when you do a build and the binaries get deployed into your bin directory in build bin, all the libraries go into lib, as you can see here. And this set target properties right here is essentially binding it where when this binary starts, it'll attempt to look either in the lib subdirectory. So like when you deploy it, there'll be a lib folder. We'll basically take this lib and put it under bin lib. And then that'll be the zip file. Or it'll try to go up one directory. And that makes it where when you're in the dev environment right now, it works fine too. So since I'm exclusively targeting Linux for like the majority of my stuff to start, I'm optimizing everything for that pipeline. And down the road, I may add more support for Windows build pipelines. They theoretically already work, because I know that that's going to be a popular use case for a lot of people. Most people don't even know what Docker is. And that's fine. I just won't prioritize it initially. None of my changes should impact the Visual Studio pipelines. And ideally, I want to eventually get everything building with MinGW Win32. Don't ever verbally say that. And what that'll do, I could possibly automate this. There's 128 changes and I'm not even touching it. So yeah, maybe I should. Okay, so if I wanted to do that, I just have to add on regex, do like a pattern like that. And we're going to replace it with isn't $1 valid? I think the dot star needs to be like word. What is the regex? And then we're going to put in all this. Sometimes AI does pretty good with that regex stuff. I forgot the capture group. That makes sense. I was close. Okay, so install escape targets, put a single word with a plus sign. Ooh, plus sign looks correct. And then for the replacement, you did this wrong. Ooh, that's wrong too, though. Okay. So you can see here, Atom Builder is now being injected onto this entry by replacing it with that, which is correct. Not replace all. Can I replace once? I think you have to do it on the line. Okay. Some of these have double set targets, though. I need to fix that real quick. Oh well, I can go in and find those easy. I think this will be a good pattern for the rest. So we can just hit replace all. Perfect. Then if we go back to the top, we can remove the duplicates. Pretty easily. But that's a ton faster than having to go to every single entry and do a dynamic replacement. Man, I did a lot while I was just chatting. Okay, there we go. So you can see every target build. That one's fine. It's just some new line trimming. Okay, so we're going to run new build. Theoretically, this shouldn't break anything. Oops. The CMake lists on 7-zip got jacked up a little bit. Install. It must have got caught up on. Okay, let's look for this pattern. This might be an edge case I accidentally injected. Ooh, I installed it a lot. It's all right. It's easy to find and fix. Did it work? Yep. There. All right, so when this compiles, if it succeeds, then we won't have dependency issues with the DLL lookup. Part of me is tempted to also tweak the destinations into grouping. I don't know. I don't want to go too deep into the toolkit yet because it's not my focus right now. I don't even know what the majority of these programs do. Is there documentation? All right. People have tried. There's a lot of guesstimation. That's funny. That's all we know for now. I mean, they tried. Whose wiki is this, by the way? Man, that's a long time ago. Let's see if there's any other. That's literally it. That's funny. So we'll be improving this, by the way. We'll actually add proper documentation with step-throughs what I'm hoping is I can get Darius at some point to take the time to kind of at least add summaries of every one of these. Maybe somebody else. Maybe I can get TAC on it as well. I know BNP is like the PFS system of Ryzom. I wanted to see if like NM Builder is referenced at all in the pipeline currently. I don't think it is. We may even want to like at some point start organizing the folders. Oh, part of the CMake pipeline. Is this just, yeah, it's just copying it. So literally this is just dumping the files. It doesn't even know what it does. Like no organization at all. Cool. And we'll look at the LDD real quick. Look at that. Clean. Perfect. Later we may have to build in the lib standard as well so that glibc incompatibilities don't come up. Might be worthwhile down the road, but I'm not going to bother with that just yet. Okay. Aren't you guys versioning? Oh, these are in shared. Is that okay? I think so. Ooh. I think it's fine. I'm just a little worried. Maybe it's worth building again in server. Gonna take it a bit though. Might as well test all three again. My little machine's gonna go hot. That's a lot of work to do 3 compiles like that. Oh well. Got nothing better to do. It's just waiting for me to give it work. Anyways. Let's put that as a to-do. This is especially important for, you know, removing noise, because there's just a lot of noise in a lot of these projects, and the less noise and the more like tutorials that we can make comprehensive and easy to just hop on, the more productive contributors can be. And that's important to me. That's a high value item. Why does... Oh, this is quick start. I'm like, why do I have all these changed files? I gotta pay attention to what I'm looking at. Okay, so server, client did a... Well, this is Snowball. This is something I need to actually add to all the VS Code settings. I added some copyright stuff. That doesn't really matter. Honestly, I have to hit that on a bunch of files, theoretically. Snowball client. And Toolkit. Toolkit has it already. Okay. I guess what I might want to work on is attempting to just get Snowball to connect. Theoretically, I've written everything needed for the server to connect. I rewrote everything to use my new login service with its like repository pattern. I do need to add all the exceptions as well, but I might just do that offline depending on what I feel like for Saul 2. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and at least start running things, especially when this build finishes, which it's halfway done. And it'll speed up once these other ones finish. Doing 3 at once is a little costly. We can go ahead and version Toolkit while we're waiting. I get this issue sometimes. Technically, I think if I just go to Toolkit like this, I can push. Yeah. It just, I think it has to do with like the dev container and how Git works in Windows when SSH'd. I'm not even gonna mess with it. It's easy to fix. I just push on here. It's not like I can't commit and stage things. So not that big of a hindrance, but okay. So what comes next? Let's start spinning up these binaries as soon as the Snowball compile finishes. And we're going to be targeting each binary that's required. I might start the client with a debugger attached. And I want to follow the networking, specifically the auth chain. The Snowball's client, I don't actually like that naming convention. I might rename this. I say I might, and then I immediately do it. That might hurt the compile, but it's not a huge deal. Because it'll resume. So we're just removing the name Snowballs. I really don't like the pluralization on it, by the way. Just a personal pet peeve. The only thing I pluralize are arrays. Okay, there's enough of these that I'll just do this. There's only one left. I can just do it by hand. Why are you doing a preview? Do that. This may impact the log file. Actually, this comment is out of date anyways. We already use client config here, so I'm assuming the errors that just popped up were, ooh, Snowball's client is still being referenced somewhere. Let's do one more build and... Okay, so C++ is attempting to bind the client file, but what's referencing it? Yeah, this file doesn't exist anymore. It's possible this is a lingering directory problem. Don't think that... Is this going to start the whole build? Of course. That's all right, though. The other one should be about done. It was worth it, dang it. I like not having packages with weird names. Anyways, okay, so back on topic. So you go to the client directory, you find the client file, and this is where you're going to find main. So this is the main entry point of the code base. It boots up, it grabs a cookie. Might be a bit of an issue even there, but we're going to ignore that for now. We get the cookie, we use the log file, we initialize, we add the commands. We do have an SB login, which we might want to note, because the commands in this game are actually not really documented. Okay, and there's a bunch of developer debugger crap in here, and that's it. Okay. So when you say go to the login screen, the game state changes. And when you switch game states, there's a loop called login. It basically has hard-coded login and password. That's interesting. This file and this file are different. I don't know where I got this one. We're going to back it up for a moment, and we're just going to copy over this file, and we'll validate if it's accurate or not in a bit. It's going to run like crap, as per usual, because this is actually an X Windows forwarding. This is a Linux build in a dev container on a remote machine. Well, let's see what happens when I do SB login. Switching to the next game state, switching to the next game state, we're still offline. Okay, so it attempted, I think. Oh, it overrides the config file. I don't like that. And it auto-injected the word login too. Huh. Oh, I think this file has multiple entries of login. I don't know. It's fine. It attempted to log in with those credentials and failed. It doesn't even verbosely tell you that though. We get a bunch of OpenGL warnings. Kind of want to put logging into categories at some point. But I don't actually see. I like how switch game state never actually dumps the actual version. We also are still baking the word snowballs client into the binary, but this build should fix that. But in client, on line, what, 203? Is that actually a function? Doubt it. It's just hallucinating. Game state is a string. What is the type? Current game state. It's just a UN8. But these are the types. So we're just going to do this. That right? Game state load is, yeah, that's all fine. Are you going to figure it out? Yeah, perfect. We can do the same line though. We had a couple errors. It could have been related to what I was messing with though. Perfect. So this should fix that messaging. So spammy, and I can't track this. There, so switching game state from load to login, and then from login to offline. So it is attempting to log in the moment you join. Okay. So, and then of course, when you do SB login, offline to login to offline. Perfect. I don't know why it says SB login, by the way. Why not just login? Compile time should be much faster now. See that? That's not bad at all. So we now know it auto logs in, and we can attempt it another time by just typing in /login. It currently gives you no errors when it fails. Another thing I'm going to do real fast. I don't like that quit. I'm going to be doing this a lot, so may as well add some helper functions. Now, when I'm like, okay, I attempt to connect, it fails, I quit. Perfect. Obviously, we'll expand that or research it more later. We'll go ahead and stage all these changes. Let's also verify. Okay, so server is clean and client is clean. Okay, so that's enough to be a thumbs up on... Ooh. I think that's okay to add. Whatever. It's not going to hurt anything. Down the line, I'll probably totally revamp the alias command system and NL command because it's not robust enough, and the whole command system I'll probably just gut because I don't know the old one, and the old one is shit anyways. Like /A, capital P position, space, and then a 2-coordinate point with a comma delimiter between them is not intuitive at all. And I understand like A is self-targeting and B is your targets as for the command, but why ABC? Why not just give me context? It's not like programmers can't type. Anyways, that was a tangent. Let's get back on track. So let's see if we can now officially light up Snowball. Okay, so whenever you try to log in, the game state is changing on the game state loop. So we have a switch game state, and the moment you switch to login, these 4 functions happen. I think init in game never gets called. This is actually offline. Where's login? So init login, init core, seed the randomizer, load a config file, set the timing, show commands, create a driver, create a window, initialize the text. This is for the first time load. Where's the actual login attempt? Okay. I think it's this call. Okay, so first thing I don't like is the nesting of conditions. I might even just rewrite it as I go. Login screen button, we don't care about. Okay. So if this is not 0, then we go offline and return. You see how many nests this has just immediately? All we have to do is this. Now we can collapse all of this and take this out. Okay. Next, if either of these are empty, Same thing. So no, if both are empty, if they're not empty, then what do? We just return with online. Okay. So if this is not empty, then we are online. And if this is not empty, then we're online. So again, we can collapse another layer. This is called guarding. And as you see, the code is not over there anymore. It's collapsing to the left. And I'm just handling situations and exiting gracefully, or, you know, situationally. Okay, so we have another one where if use direct login is 1, then it does all this stuff. But if it's 0 or non-1, this might be an offline state. This one I'm not as confident on. Then we have these go-tos. This is where the code is starting to get gross. Oh, man. Okay. I hate labels and go-tos. Are they even used? Yeah, look at this. Ew, 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 ew. Why? All right. So we're authenticating. We are doing catches for failures. Okay. So if the result is not empty on the authentication start, then we essentially are escaping. And when we escape, do that. Oops, I might have. While authenticate update. What is this shit? Okay. So yeah, I don't like whiles, by the way, either, but I'll work with that for now. And now we don't need the go-to anymore. Now we do the same kind of logic for the select fail. Okay. Every time I review code, I'm just like, I may as well rewrite it. So I can, you know, stay sane. But notice now the code has no go-tos anymore, and it just reads like a story. And all exceptions are returned as guards now. All right. We have a weird issue though, I can already tell you. And that is every time a login attempt happens, we're not actually getting messaging. Switching game state from offline to login, and then it immediately returns. It's almost like loop login never gets called. Switching game state from X to Y. And okay, we're gonna breakpoint, and I think we can start a debugger. And actually hit that breakpoint. Perfect. Okay, so now we can step in and step through this. So immediately it failed. The first condition failed, which is the cookie check. Or actually, I forget what that code was. Okay, so we step in. Oh, I stepped over. Oops. Let's just click on this. The first scenario is that if the local var is not 1, so we need local to be set to 1 is the first problem. So we are going to go to client config. We're going to go find local. It is set to 1. What about in build bin local? It's both set to 1. Is the config file not loading properly? When I'm attached with the debugger, the output's a little wonky. We're standard it out. Honestly, I think yes, I don't know. Does local matter? Do I care? Do I need this? What happens if it's not local? It's just going to try to connect, right? So let's just comment it out for now. And continue on our merry way. Okay. We'll do it to debugger. Okay, so we're going to step in. We're going to step through. Cookie's not set. FS address is not set. We do have the direct connect set. All right, so we're continuing down the happy trail. We're about to do... We're actually now getting messages. Interesting, loop login echoes out a NL info with a unknown still, but we're going to ignore that for now. We get the shard ID, which we don't currently even know. Probably going to be 1. What is shard ID set to? 300? Yeah, that's not going to work. My code only just uses 1. But you can see here it attempted to connect finally. It's going to fail. We get a nice authentication failed message, which doesn't even tell you the result message. Weird. This whole result system will probably make into standard exception handling later. This should eventually flip it to offline, but we are getting a message now. That's good. What if I breakpoint? Okay, so what's the stack look like? We're still in the loop logic. Does this just happen infinitely? How often is this getting triggered? A lot. Does it like eventually give up? So local time is 0. While t is less than 5, t is equal to plus equal. Is this an infinite loop? T is not incrementing. But honestly, let's just flip this offline. Yeah, I don't care. This is asleep though. This shouldn't be having an issue, but oh, I don't need to restart it actually. I just want it to I just need it to stop there. I don't know if that'll fix that or not. T feels like it's not incrementing with local time delta. What is local time delta anyways? Like, is this a variable that should be getting modified? It is on the advanced time function. Okay, so we're going to fail. And this call is just going to loop infinitely. But see, t is still 0, just constantly 0, which means we get stuck because time is not advancing. So advanced time was found here. We breakpoint this. We're never calling this. Local time delta gets reset on init. Game time is not initialized. So this means the sky is probably not going to work either. The client does run this when you're in game. So the problem is that the loop login doesn't advance time. Was this a side effect to what I've changed? Or did I miss something more fundamental with this? I'm curious. Let's go look at my changes. So if you look at this code, and let's do a comparison offline, non-inline. So the original code did the exact same thing. So yeah, this was a bug in Snowball this entire time. I think, what does update time do? Let's take both of these and add them into the loop login whenever these things happen. Just like that. I don't think this one needs the timer, but this one does. Okay. I'm just debugging things. All these breakpoints are triggering now. Perfect. I don't know why loading Sky is taking forever, but okay. So now if I type /login and I try to log in, authenticate, fail, waits 5 seconds, resumes. So I fixed it. Time now advances when you're failing login. So yay, I fixed a bug that apparently was in there for many, many years. Move. Fix timeout failure on login. Okay, so next, let's actually spin up the server. Yeah. So make run collision. Make run front end. Make run login. Make run position. So that's what? Position, login, front end collision, and then chat. Okay. Oh, naming service is not there. I think it still uses the, oops, got a stack trace. Naming service is not found. Did we never start welcome as well? I removed a bunch of files, so we're going to assume naming service has to be here, and therefore let's take the naming service config from server and copy it into Snowball. Here. Okay. So we now have naming service, and it's communicating with chat, front end service, position service. We also need login service, I believe. Or welcome service. So let's copy that over. We have a core dump, but it doesn't tell us what happened. Okay, so this might work. So we're trying to fail. We get a fatal error when we're adding the service because the shard ID variable must be valid. Did that? Yeah, it's here. So welcome service is incomplete. We need to do some cleanup on a couple of these settings because my stuff is a lot simpler now. It's like the shard ID here, it's just one. Should be just one. So let's look through all these. Shard ID here, one. But welcome service. Line 1062. It's trying to load shard ID from a config file. Theoretically. Sent identification with shard ID 1. Exception will be launched. Variable expected services not found in welcome service. All right, so what is expected services? I feel like my welcome service is not complete. Yeah. Oops. We only copied exception will be launched. Stream does not contain at least bytes for check. I mean, service shard ID is 1. We have a registration, position, and okay. So let's see what happens if we start the client. Where do we go? How far down the chain do we get? Authenticating. And we got an exception. Interesting. So we're potentially logging in now. The encrypted password, switching to game login, name is empty is the last error. This is while it was doing a display of a message. There was an assertion for reading the message type during processing of a message during authentication update. So why did this fail? Main is starting the run, switching the game state. It's trying to log in, does the authenticate. It gets to this line. Calls base update. Tries to process a message. The packet is on the wire to get processed. It receives it. We get a one-way stream. The message type is 3. And then it goes to set the type. Does an assertion. But name is empty. So shard name can't be empty. That kills the client. That might just be it. Now the question is, when I restart welcome service, does it resubscribe to everyone? I don't know. We'll find out pretty quick. Okay. Looks like we're still getting the same error. Name message. We're setting it to type. The name is still empty. So what we can do, by the way, what does the log file look like when we run this? So if we go to build bin logs, and then we go to client log. What? Why is client log not even there? It's just log. Yeah. I don't like the log. Logs should have their name of the binary in them, in my opinion. But I'll fix that later. This is a nil exception failure. The stack. Okay. So, all right. I don't like the error messaging in this as well, but let's close everything. Like that. Right. And then let's boot it up again. Collision, front end, welcome, login. Position, chat, naming. Give it a moment to boot. And now let's see if it runs. We're still getting a nil. Name is empty. Failure. Can we tell who's responding to this? It's probably going to be login. Chart ID 315.5 9814. A lot of weird chart IDs. Oh, we are getting some interesting. Well, it wants to disconnect user ID X. Send requested to shard 8. Why is it getting all these weird shard numbers from? There's something in the connection queue that hard codes which shards to connect to. What we could do is add some better logging during the auth in client CPP to actually tell us a little bit more intel. Gotta close a bunch of windows. Oops. Okay, so client CPP. We need to figure out if Why is it when I do client CPP? Oh, it's going over here. Wait a second. There we go. This line will be a little bit more informative on what exactly is happening. So ShardID 300 is still being passed. Perfect. That already is helpful because we are hard coding it to 1. And so if it's passing 300, then there's a file somewhere that wasn't properly updated. Right here. Okay, so now we're properly connecting with ShardID 1. Login doesn't really tell you much. It's now saying, though, web wants to connect. Application is snowballs. Welcome service. Are you telling me anything about this? No. Registration broadcast. Okay. So we're still getting the exception. Is there any more intel about this message that we can derive? We're attempting to authenticate. We are connecting to the login server. We are attempting to do what's called an update. We are trying to process a message whenever data is available. So there is a payload coming in. When we receive it, the message is empty. The length is actually 71. And then message type. I would argue that not accepting an empty string, I almost feel like this would be a failure, but not a core dump crash like we have. It just feels very rigid, but we're not going to bother with that too much just yet. And this is ultimately just like the bubble up, where ultimately we get the assertion failure. Okay. Can we get more intel about what the heck is truly being called? Oh, my bandwidth is actually pretty low. I'm getting in the red. Interesting. Okay. I don't really know what to do. So we're getting a connection. It's getting accepted potentially. What service is actually binding to 49998? Login is. And so we have full control over the login code. We could even run a GTB debug on it and breakpoint it when the request comes in. So let's debug why login is sending an empty message. Because we're not getting any info on login currently, right? I think so. We're getting these messages. Let's do this. We're going to kill login. We're going to breakpoint on it. Okay. These message, for some reason, there's some like lingering junk. Where's the can't disconnect? This is the disconnect client request. That's fine. They get disconnected. This could just be like lingering session data. Doesn't matter. These users, this connection stuff, potentially doesn't matter. The login is attempting to handle all the things. So let's now spin up client. And then let's jump back to login. Nothing got triggered on login by default. So what about we initialize, we have a direct connection, we have all this fun stuff. I can't tell if it's web or what is WS? Is WS WebSocket? I don't even know that. But I mean, at the end of the day, every client connection needs a verification step. This is basically what should be getting triggered. So if we breakpoint on this, we might get some intel. We'll find out. We fail, and login is still not doing anything. If we breakpoint on it, we are currently just sleeping until data is available. This is just being called by the service manager. Notice this is 5999. Is there another thread for 998? There's a bunch of sleeps going on. on the other threads. Okay. So I'm gonna probably have to play with this later, but ultimately where we're at is that the client is attempting to connect to login. I can't capture yet the request coming in. I'm pretty confident though that 5998 is connecting to my login binary. But then my login binary is replying with an invalid message. It's an empty one. And that's just putting things to crap. So I'm going to probably shelf it for now. That'll be a goal for like tomorrow. But we did get progress. I like my new echo message. We fixed a few config problems. I really want to rewrite the config system, by the way, but I'm going to brace it for now. Okay, so I'll do that. We're going to shut these down. I should arguably write a system that makes this easier to spin up and down all these services, but that's for another day as well. I guess one thing we could do real fast is what if I start login on its own? It's happy. Okay, and then what if I start client on its own? Do we get to the authentication chain and get the exception still? Yeah. So this is good because at least while we're debugging, I can isolate it to just those two programs. So I have full source control without having to go over to the server side for now. So sweet. But that's pretty much my stream. I think overall pretty productive. We got Toolkit to finally fully compile, and we've also adjusted Snowball, and we've gotten to the point where networking is happening between my new rewritten login service and the Snowball client. So once they can negotiate auth, we'll see if it propagates to the other services. And I haven't really touched the other services, so in theory, those should just work. But I know Snowball's been neglected for a while, so I'm kind of like tackling multiple concerns at the same time. But once I get Snowball running, the knowledge I'm gaining by, you know, resolving these problems should carry over to the legit client pretty cleanly. I'm learning a lot about the networking stack and, you know, the pipeline. So, very educational. But, yeah, success. Slowly but surely. All right, so I'll probably hop off, and then tomorrow morning, I don't normally stream, but I'll probably start working on the Saul 2 change on client. Maybe a bit aggressive to do it before I've actually booted the client up. I wonder actually what happens. Let's just try running the client real quick. Yeah, we don't check the subdirectory yet. Config file client is not found. Font is not found. there's a chance I can just copy data over. I got a screen flash. We still have some font errors. I might be able to go to... Oops, I pressed E drive. Flatter drive has to spin up. It's going to take a second. And Windows handles it so gracefully, as you can see. All right. If we go to C drive, source, Ryzom... This is essentially a copy of like all the assets we really want. So I could manually copy these. So SCP, SCPR, and do C drive, source, Ryzom core data, and send it to G16. And send it to my source RH client build bin. And that should do it. We could actually delete. Because Ryzom Core K is a copy from, what's his name? Creatine? I don't remember his name. And it just has all the assets loaded in it, and that should hopefully satisfy the fonts and all that junk. Client needs a lot of cleanup. The config file needs to be reorganized, and logs need to go. Like, you see how messy the root directory is already? Just little things adding into it. I need to get nel LZMA to not be compiling as well on client and server. Not a huge deal, but just yet another dependency that can be stripped out. This might take a second. Oh, there it is. Okay, now let's see what run does. Oh, wow. That's actually a little scary. So keep in mind that this window right now is actually a X Windows session, remotely SSH'd. You can even see down here, game resolution, 1920 by 1080, X Wayland 0. In fact, I think they just killed it. Oh no, it's still working. Level detail increased. So obviously this won't work. It's attempting to, though. It also runs like shit, but I mean, it's a remote SSH connected. Invalid password. No, that's awesome though. I didn't expect it to just boot up. That's massive. Awesome. Anyways, all right. That was a good ending point, right? The client actually boots up. So, hope everyone has a good one, and talk to you guys later.